Montrose High School is looking to do something they have not done since 1950, and that is bring home a state championship. Yep, let's bring it home. Let's bring it home over to the Western Slope for those Montrose Redhawks. Let's start things out early on in this game. Chase Meehan is going to get it on the end around, runs it left, and he's going to gain a bunch of yards there for the Redhawks. A couple plays later, Aiden Grijalva says, I'll have what he's having, but I'm going to make a house call. Somebody save me a plate. Touchdown, Montrose. They strike first, 6-0. That's the score. Cade Saunders, this is something we haven't really seen from Montrose very often. The air raid attack. He will find Meehan's, this time through the air. Montrose adds on. And Darian Jackson now for Broomfield says, fine, I'll do it myself. Big game for Broomfield. That will set up a score for them. Aiden Grijalva punches it in for Montrose, and Montrose tacks on even more to their lead. This is right before the half. Jackson is going to find Michael Benner in the corner of the end zone. That's a touchdown. It had to take a little bit of a further discussion, but it's ruled a touchdown. Now Joseph Larson just says, get out of my way. I'm going to take 6. Why not? Fights his way in for the 6. 28-21 the score. All tied up at 28. A little pitch to Elliott Less. That's a fumble into the end zone. Montrose will recover it, but a couple plays later, Montrose actually fumbles it back to Broomfield. And then just a couple plays after that, Jackson calls his own number over the top, up and over, touchdown Broomfield, and that makes it 35-28. That is your final. Let's take you out to what we saw from the game. All right, folks, we just got out of the highlights of the game. We saw all the action happening. Now let's talk to somebody that was actually there. Our sports reporter Garrett Brown is actually in Fort Collins and was there for the game. Garrett, what did you see from this Montrose offense in the first half that resembled most of their season leading up to this game?
Yeah, Jeff, punched in the mouth. That was the verbiage a lot of people were using to describe Montrose in that first half. They went up 18-7, at one point 28-7 against Broomfield, and particularly what was interesting to see, there was the run game that we've come to see from Montrose time and time again, but the passing game we've seen develop a lot, especially with Cade Saunders inserted at quarterback. The Redhawks recorded 2 passing touchdowns, including one passing play that looked very similar to that play we saw against Pueblo West, where on play action, Sanders over the middle connected with Chase Meehan, wide open near the end zone. That helped them jump out to a very early lead, and it looked like this was going Montrose's way early on.
Yeah, and then that 28-7 lead was up until about a couple seconds to go in the half, and then Broomfield ended up scoring a touchdown, and then, you know, it was kind of, that was the tip of the iceberg that got the snowball rolling. But what did you see, and what did it kind of feel like a momentum shift when Broomfield scored going into the half?
Yeah, Jeff, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. It was that touchdown with just seconds to go in the second quarter. It was kind of a controversy here at the game whether or not that Broomfield receiver was even into the end zone. The rest kind of had to get together, and they ultimately ruled he was. If you're Montrose, there's nothing you can do about that. But here's what made that sting more. Not only did they score with seconds left, but they got the ball back to start the half. And the feeling in the building on both sides of the field was if Broomfield marched down and scored, they'd be right back into this ball game, and that's exactly what they did. And that's when things really started to unravel, and Montrose kind of got on their heels.
Yeah, and so that second half for Montrose, that explosive 28 points in the first half was great. It was great coming out of the tunnel and coming off the bus, coming over the passes and everything, you know, getting out to that 28-point lead. But then that second half, it kind of seemed to stall out for the Redhawks, and Broomfield just kind of kept the momentum going. Talk to me a little bit about what went wrong for Montrose in the second half, and, you know, how Broomfield carried over that momentum.
Yeah, so talking to Broomfield and people who know that Broomfield team well, they said a couple of things. One, they haven't played a lot of teams that run the option, so that kind of caught them off guard. Two, they outright said they weren't expecting Montrose to play as fast as they did. So remember how I said Montrose kind of punched him in the mouth? Well, after a while, Broomfield kind of had that figured out. They particularly queued up on the run up the gut that the whole Montrose offense is kind of facilitated on, and once they shut that down, Montrose was kind of scrambling. Meanwhile, Broomfield, well, they were surging, particularly on offense, and you kind of started to see the fatigue from a Montrose team that, one, has played a lot of games at this point in the season. They're dealing with a lot of injuries, and also a lot of their star players play both ways on the ball. Broomfield, that's not necessarily the case. Pair that with the fact that, in general, Broomfield had a huge size advantage, and Montrose really got on their heels, ultimately leading to being shut out in the second half on their way to the 35-28 defeat. Now that said, there's still a lot to be proud of if you're Montrose. They had to overcome a lot of adversity to even get here to Fort Collins. I have a feeling that it won't take them very long to get back here. We still have one more football game in Colorado high school football going on right behind me, the Class 5A championship between the Legend Titans and Cherry Creek. This one's a good one. And, just wrapping up the whole football season with a bow. Again, Montrose, one of the most historic seasons in program history. I'm sure this is the start of a good run for them, but for now, I'm going to send things back to you, Jeff.
Yeah, it's the first time that they could have won a championship for the first time since 1950, and a 13-1 season is still nothing to scoff at all. Being undefeated, going all the way into the state championships, really nothing to scoff at. Congratulations to the Montrose Redhawks. We'll be right back.